just want to make sure it's known, but I am on the Canada version for this video so that I could show you guys all the units I want to show in this video, since we do not have the Midnight Sun yet. But since they are going to be coming in 2 days at the time that this video is posted, I decided why not make it on the Canada version, have it still in English for you guys, be understandable, but obviously there's it's not global, but it's fine. So let's just get into the top 10 units for the late game of Black Clover Mobile. And late game, what I consider late game is higher end PvP once you have your teams built, and also more so raids and Hall of Illusions, and especially once they start to extend the Hall of Illusions, which I believe it's going to go to 80 in Season 2. And once it goes to 80, some people just get mad stonks. So yeah, that's gonna be a thing. Hall of Illusions currently on JP has 100 floors, and those last 20 floors are hell. So the main three things is raid, Hall of Illusions, and arena. That's what you're really doing late game, especially when they start adding those later stages. I'm telling you, it gets hard. Okay, I think I spent 3 hours trying to beat Raya, maybe 2. But as for Heath, it took dead ass like 2 hours and a half trying to get the perfect run. So these units, I'm gonna specify where they're good in, if they're good everywhere, and then yeah. That's it. I guess maybe I'll put timestamps. If I'm feeling nice, I'll put timestamps. Okay, if I'm feeling nice. So there's no order to this, by the way. It's just 10 units that are like very useful. This tier list does have, I think, like 3 units different than the top 10 on global launch, but now it's for different reasons. So I'll explain where exactly they're gonna be good in. So obviously Mars, he's just a very universal unit, and in late game PvP, especially now as we start getting more debuffers and everything, he's going to get more value just for tanking, and also because of his debuff immunity. So this debuff immunity basically stops 90% of debuffs. There's like 4 tiers, there's 4 classes of debuffs, some that just penetrate through everything, like absolute value, taunt, heal block. And then there's DOTs, which is not debuffing, and then there's what's it called, status immunity, which is stunning, and then there's actual debuffs. Okay, so those are like the 4 sets of debuffs, and Mars stops most of the debuffs while having a stun, having an AoE stun. Okay, which this one is the one you're going to start using more over time as it becomes less likely that you're going to use Mars with Lotus a lot, where Lotus is still good, but he's not going to be it's not going to be the meta team, but it's still going to be a team that you could run for sure. And then he has a taunt with the skill page, bringing another 105% defense. So yeah, that is it for that. Actually no, there's 4 units different, I'm lying. So Mars, where you're going to use them is mainly in PvP still, where he is not going to be the greatest for raids or Hall of Illusions too much, but for grinding Hall of Illusions, sure, like if you're doing auto runs. But I would not say he is particularly amazing. It's just that he excels so much. He could be used anywhere, but he's not great in anything but PvP. But in PvP, he is truly just like, he is the god of the new world in PvP, dog. What could I say? He really is that good in PvP. So yeah, that debuff immunity could be very good. And even in later types of content, like future guild bosses, it's going to be very good having this debuff immunity. So for right now, raids, I don't think for Beltagigas he's going to be the best, but for future raids, he will be very, very, very good. Now, next up, obviously, come on, guys, come on. Obviously, Lotus. He is pretty much the best everywhere. PvP, 10 out of 10. He has speed debuff, increased damage, extending debuff, reducing stamina, mobility, I guess, and then reducing speed with Mars even further, and doing decent damage, and also reducing all attack. He does everything. Okay, he does every type of debuff. He's good in raids for taking more damage, incapacitate, plus extended debuff, plus the damage resistance increase, and make it a guaranteed crit. He's good in Hall of Illusions, and he's also good in arena. So 3 for 3, right? That's really how it is. It's kind of insane, but bro, Lotus is that guy. He really is that guy. It's pretty insane, but he's gonna stay that guy for a while. I don't know, where did I put him on my Pride Win tier list? I think on JP right now, 6 months later. In PvP he's S tier, and PvE he's S tier. So he's hung out, right? He's hung out. He's done his part, and he's doing good. He's still doing good. S tier, he's still like top 10 in my eyes. So maybe 15, but still very good. Now next up, we've got Raya, who surprisingly is really good in PvE content. Late game, bro, oh my god. You put him against any boss and he just wipes the floor with them. I've done 1.8 million damage with this guy because of his ult, where basically every buff you have on him increases damage by 15%. So if you have like 7 buffs, bro, just imagine. And then you also get an extra attack that's worth 70% of attack and magic attack. And he already has a pretty good AoE scaling of 230%. plus the 70 brings it up to 300. Then the damage increase, very good, right? And this is the main part of his kit, but you could one tap every boss with it if you build it right. And also literally just every boss, every future boss, any single target he excels in. Even in PvP, if you want to build him to nuke, you can. It's just, I don't know, it's going to depend on the team, but for certain arena teams you could for sure do this. It could probably pierce 100% through Noel's shield too, if you build him right. So, you know, there's just that to consider. If there's only a Noel on that team as a DPS and you kill the Noel, then maybe you could easily get through. But yeah. Now next up, another different addition is Red Yami. For bosses, he does extra damage on his skill too, right? So he does the extra, where is it, 30% damage. And then he also has extra 14%. This is in Canada, so they don't have the dupes changed yet. But it gets to 14% increased damage dealt when attacking a boss at dupe 2, which is very strong, right? Just needing 2 dupes for the extra 14% plus 30 here, so this is doing a lot of damage. And then it's also the guaranteed stun, which is very strong in PvE content like Hall of Illusion, so this one you're going to be able to take very high advantage of. So I'd say he's very good. And yeah, his damage is actually going to stay relatively high. And with that counter now on dupe 5, he's going to be much more useful. So Red Yami got a pretty big buff, honestly, overall. Red Yami, they did him well. They did him really well. Then next up, we've got Rades, who stays very good, mainly in PvP, but is still useful in PvE content. You could use him if you want to stay alive for a team. That is for sure easily done because of his barrier that's based off his magic attack, and you could easily build him a magic attack, right? And it goes up to what, 240% magic attack here, and that 240%, right? If we're really looking at it, okay, if we're really looking at it, 240% M attack, if he could easily get 30k. That becomes like a 70, 80, 90, 100k barrier depending on your skill page, gear, and talents. So it goes high, right? So there's that. Plus it gives the stun block, which is very good, especially if they're going to bring different types of content from JP. But in raids, it's useful, and in PvP especially, it is very useful in higher end when they start running AoE Mars stuns and when more stuns start coming out. This 2-turn stun block, I'm telling you, he's going to be one of the units that lasts the longest next to Mars and Lotus for sure. Then Mimosa. This Mimosa, she basically only gains value the more that you run multiple DPS teams because of the fact that of her res, right? Her res works to where you have to decide who you're killing. Are you going to kill Mimosa and have 2 DPSs after you? Are you going to try and kill everyone and make it not work? Are you going to kill Mimosa? Are you going to kill DPS and then Mimosa res the DPS and back at 100% mobility, right? So it's very strong. She gives defense increase. She increases buff duration, and with the skill page, it's for 2 turns, the buff duration increase. She increases damage res, defense, and gives SP. She does a lot of good stuff for a healer, and it's just very strong. You know, you just can't go wrong with it, dog. You really can't. So overall, W unit. And yeah, very annoying. I honestly hate her. I pulled her so much, guys. I pulled her too much. Now Charlotte literally just gets stonks up, right? She's good before, but then she becomes even better. Why? She has 70% incapacitate, which is a 70% increased damage taken, plus she has the 60% defense reduction with also at LR the extra 20% if there's a mark on them. So that's an 80% total. Well, it's probably like would it be, I don't know, but I guess it's additive, so like 60 and then 20. I don't know how they do it, but there's a 60% defense reduction and a 20% plus a 70% incapacitate. So for nuking, she becomes godly, right? So very good in there. And PvP, she does gain a lot of value when people like Kyoto and Julius come out, where the mark is going to basically just kill everyone turn 1, because you get an extra turn every time you kill someone with a mark. Level 4, you have a 100% mark activation rate. Everyone has the mark. Julius does like a bajillion damage. Turn 1, he gets 2 extra turns because he killed someone, and from there it's GG. So Charlotte, amazing, and has the nuking potential to go alongside someone like Raya in Hall of Illusions and also in raids and any future content that will come out like Guild Boss in the future. So very good. Then another new addition is where is it? Nebra. Nebra, especially because Summer Yuno got delayed to Season 3 onwards. We don't know when he's coming out, but Summer Yuno did get delayed. She gains stonks, insane stonks. She does a lot of stuff similar to Charlotte, and if anything, she can almost do it better than Charlotte sometimes. She gives, for single target, she is better than Charlotte. She is, okay? Charlotte gives 70% for 1 turn, and she gives 80% total for 2 turns, right? But what does Nebra do? where's the number? I didn't build her on Canada, but it's whatever. She gives a 60%, but for 2 turns, okay? So the incapacitate lasts longer, which lets you build up more, which if anything, even if it's 10% less, because you're able to build yourself more for an extra turn, because 1 turn, the boss goes once, and then it's over, the debuff of 70% damage. Where 2 turns, it's much better. Plus, she gives you 70% defense here. And it's very good, right? She does decent damage. She could also reduce magic attack. And those two together for nuking in bosses is just insane, right? Charlotte's more of a PvP unit, but for PvE, this Nebra is genuinely one of the best. And I've seen her used on a lot of JP teams for nuking and just doing certain types of teams for raids. So definitely going to be very good when raids come out in what, I don't know how much time, but whenever Raya and Licht come out. So yeah, that's basically Nebra. Now, of course, our 2 speed DPSs are last. Finral, very good, and actually gains stonks because of the fact that right now we don't have any bosses, but when we do get bosses, when we do get Beltagigas, he's going to be insane. So he gives speed increase, okay, with crit rate, and if you have the crit rate, it's also going to give damage increase on the skill 2, plus also increasing attack and having a chance to increase mobility if you have the skill page. Increasing his, where is it? Increasing his level is very good because it goes up to 30% increased damage dealt, which is an insane, ridiculous number. Then even here it increases speed, so he's going to be increasing your speed, mobility, what's it called? Your damage, your attack, and crit rate. So he, for nuking, and especially with Raya, he's going to apply what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buffs. 4 buffs. 4 buffs because mobility is not a buff that stays on. So 4 buffs, that's 60% extra damage from Raya. And the damage he's giving him is going to be insane, especially because his attack, very good and will stay good. I'm telling you, this Finral, one of the best units to build for PvE content that's related to bosses. Then, where's Voltos? Voltos. This guy's just as good, getting up to 124 speed, same as Finral. And this guy is going to be in a very different way, more so for PvP only. But in later games, he is not. There's not going to be a team you can't put him on because of this, specifically this alone, where it's going to be giving 20% increased mobility, which turn 1, if we look at it, right? I mean, can we check here? Turn 1, we always start off at 80% mobility. Okay, 80%. Now, this mobility gauge is usually going to be around like here. Look at the left part, usually going to be around here. Now, using the alt, right? Using the alt is going to be... Damn, this is a nice alt. I've never really looked at it. Huh. Okay, anyway, sorry, I just got sidetracked. Using the alt is going to increase the mobility by 20%. Which is going to be, okay, I guess, yeah, but it's going to be bringing them up to 100% turn 1. And the way to attack is when you get to 100%. There's 2 ways to increase your mobility, either increasing mobility or increasing speed, which speed is the thing that increases mobility. So, like, if you're at 126 speed, you're increasing quicker than someone who's at 110 speed, okay? So it's basically speed helps increase your mobility faster, but if you increase your mobility by 20%, that's outright just better than increasing speed. So everyone's going to go first, and that's great. Then he has magic attack, which is slowly going to gain more value over time as we start to get people like Julius, Noel, and then all the burn units are going to be magic attack, right? So that's going to be very good. And how even Licht is going to be magic, and he goes very well with Licht and Raya in PvP. So if you want to use him for PvP with Licht and Raya, it goes very well. The way I run him is either I speed up or I magic attack buff Licht and Licht, and then I just combo alt and then GG. So yeah, those are the top 10, right? Pretty decent list. I think having 4 units changed. It's because, you know, some people like do change a lot. Now, I could say there's an argument for Red Asta instead of Red Yami, but Red Yami for Hall of Illusions is going to be a goated ass unit that you guys are going to not see coming. A guaranteed stun is something we don't really have in this game, so y'all better keep up. Red Yami, he gonna creep up on you and he'll be insane, right? Especially if you have a max dupe. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you guys think of this list. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Check the video out right here. I don't know what it's going to be, but check it out.